And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. Fight for what's right. Fight for your life.
All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour for Friday, 9/20/2019. We got tons of news cycles to go over here. Again, just want to welcome you to our morning Friday live and jive. We're always going to try to go. It's not always going to be at the same time. You've seen 5 o'clock a.m., you've seen 7:30, 8 o'clock. Now you're seeing about a little after 9. Again, welcome all mods and patriots. We got Ben joining in. Just want to let you know this is probably be the new routine. You'll have a little counter, trying to make it simple and easy for everybody to understand when you come in. It's not the end of a show. Some people are confused throughout the last year of doing this. We've picked up on that. So now there's a counter, gives you 5 minutes, gives me a chance here to get everything out to the social medias, get everything set up, and then actually even converse a little bit. So I enjoy that as much as you guys do. All right, so let's not waste any time here. We got lots to get into, lots to talk about, lots going on. And we got Ben in the room this morning.
Good morning, Patriots. Good Friday morning live and jive.
Ooh.
Hot
Yes,
mic.
hot mic.
So,
Awesome. Morning, Patriots. Grillin' Randy. Got Randy Robbins.
what up, Grillin'? Randy. A lot of love to all the mods, all you guys out there. Sherry Owens, Joanna Brulin, Mary Lindsay, all you guys. Awesome. Like I said, Mike and I, it's quite a good point when the beginning of the show. We try to get it as early as we can, but hey, we all got families and lives, and we've said this many times before. Our families, next to God, is our number one priority. So we will get it out to you guys when all is safe at the homestead and we are secure to transmit and proceed. So,
All right. Let me see here.
yeah. Patricia Bright, 8:15 in Alabama. Coffee time. A little bit of brown bean juice. Oh, yeah.
Uh-oh. Who's the text there from?
Uh-oh.
We got Trump in the room, folks.
Dun, dun, dun. Another fake news story out there. It never ends. Virtually anything I speak on the phone to a foreign leader, I understand there is... Oh... He's doing a little bit of ranting and raving about he can't do his job without somebody saying, "See, you're colluding with another country." He's like, "Yeah, I'm doing this trade deal with this guy so our countries can unite." Collusion, damn you.
Well, I think the polls are showing that our impeachment aren't going to be going your way, sir. That the polls are kind of... Oh, what's he say here? All polls and some brand new polls show very little support for impeachment. Such a waste of time, especially with such much good.
Oh, and such a waste
Waste
of
of
our tax dollars, the most part. I mean, we're trying to slim down. We're trying to shimmy and shake off the deep state. The whole idea of having a monkey on your back. We got a deep state on the taxpayers' back, people, and we're trying to shake it free. And it's just tragedy. It's tragedy how they're trying to do the optics. Remember, it's all about optics, and they're just yelling the same thing over and over again. That's not really... Nothing's changed on the left-hand side. I mean, let's just... Not even the left side, just the idea of the deep state. Those have been in position there for 30, 40, 50 years, screaming they know the best because they've been there the longest.
Yeah.
Mike and I in Garage Talk were saying, you have the most amount of... conflict of interest if you've been there for that long. You can't even walk on the hill without having a conflict of interest to putting your foot on that soil, so you shouldn't even be there. So it's just amazing. That's why
Well,
Mike
when you're
and I
around
always
that
say
long, there's
so
a
much.
lot of history on you. Of either doing the right thing or being a hypocrite from hell. I mean, let me see here. Oh, what we were talking about. The third incident of blackface comes out for Trudeau. Trudowski.
I'm telling you what, this guy, he's just a bumbling idiot. You know that it was all illegal how he became prime minister. There's no way that the Canucks are going to even think about getting a guy who apologized. Well, I know in my vast privilegedness that I was the first time I was wrong, and there's another one that came out. Okay, I was wrong again. There may be more. Third one comes out. I mean, this is It's funny. It's almost like am I seeing cartoons when I was a kid, and this guy dancing around in Indian leaves, and he's waving the flag around, and then the next second he's in blackface, and then he's apologizing because of his opulent
My privilege blinded me to what I was doing back then. Now I see. I'll form an investigative team to get to the bottom of this immediately to what I was thinking, and I'll get back to you.
I know now.
I mean,
that was wrong. Back then, I didn't think it was wrong, but now I know it's wrong. It's like,
so
he's kind of learning his morals on the fly. He's in his upper, in 50s. How old the guy is, I don't know. I mean, geez, he's not a young buck anymore, prancing around like not knowing what's reality. So you can just see these people. They have handlers, folks. You know that. They have handlers. Mike was talking about when he was looking at the article. This stuff is coming out in yearbooks. Well, come on now. How many of you Canadians had yearbooks with Trudeau out there doing that? There's like, what? I mean, what's a graduating class? Let's just take it to a small, maybe it was a 500 student graduating class, right? Maybe a small town in Canuck somewhere. And there's at least a few hundred yearbooks out. They've known about this for a long, long time, just like what they've talked about and happening to Justice Kavanaugh right now. They've known about this for a long time. Why hasn't it come out before? Because optics that they're trying to control did not dictate that particular bit of visual juiciness didn't come out until now. And now he's all talking about his opulent of privilege. It's like, geez, yeah, I'm not the president. Yeah, he has a little bit more privilege than I do, right? Because he holds way more responsibility than I do, right? The whole more freedom you have, the more responsibility you have. It's a good balance. We teach our children that, but I guess some of these people in the leadership positions kind of skipped that training when they were just wee little children.
Man, I'm having to...
I agree with you, Scott Boline. Do as I say, not as I do. It's the classic hypocrisy of what we see, and people get tired of that. We get tired of that. I mean, hypocrisy is very mentally, and it's draining on the person's mind, their soul. And it's negativity. We don't like to drink from that well.
Yeah, and then the words of hypocrisy. I'll read this here real quick. So from 1998, I'm gonna make this a little bigger. Give me a second. So from 1998. Jerry Nadler, let me get the top ticker off here. So from 1998, this is watch what Gerald Nadler said about impeachment when Bill Clinton was the target.
We remember old Clinton, right? I did not.
Jerry Nadler was worried about potential dividing the nation in 1998, but in 2019, he wants blood. This is just more proof of partisan politics. You're about to see a short clip that Nadler probably wishes would kind of vanish forever because it proves his current state of hypocrisy.
Bureaucracy.
If our conduct in this matter does not earn the confidence of the American people, then any action we take, especially if we seek to overturn the result of a free election. If our conduct in this matter does not earn the confidence of the American people, then any action we take, especially if we seek to overturn the result of a free election, will be viewed with great suspicion and could divide a nation for years to come.
So it could divide our nation for years to come because of the suspicion and optics, or so he was fiercely against it because this whole image could crumble our nation for years to come. But they're out for blood in 2019. I mean,
and I remember another clip of him really, really pushing for the fact of, they were wanting all the records back then unsealed so everyone could read them and look at what really and he was like, no, we got names in there, people that were brought up that they're dating, he was all worried about protecting and not getting all of it out there.
People, yep.
And this was,
that's national.
It wasn't really just to do with Bill Clinton's, sexual relation, but it did delve into that, and then people that knew and the optics of it all, and then you would have just really found out that a lot of people was knowing about it, and then he didn't want. But here for the one in 2019, he was demanding. It's like, well, you guys are only wanting 7 pages. And we didn't do that quick enough. So quickly, within 3 days, you're talking about we need to move forward and file charges or not releasing. And then in the midst of that, they released 900 pages. You're only wanting the 4. And then you still went forward and they're like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. A month later, well, we filed charges here. They released them the day after, but we're still up here at the court proceedings to talk about why they didn't release these things that they wanted. And they're like, well, we released way more
conversations.
And he's sitting there protecting paperwork for Clinton. And it was nothing to do but lying and sexual relation stuff, supposedly. But he wanted that. This is pertinent and we need to keep this protected, and stood up on that. And here he was telling the head of the DOJ, we need this paperwork. And they're like, well, that's kind of ongoing court cases. If we gave them to you, it'd be illegal. We don't care. We need to see it all. And they're like, we released 98% to you. We didn't get the Clinton stuff, the rest of the Clinton stuff, till 2012, I think it was released or something.
My gosh, exactly. Somewhere around there. It was a long time. So just think about how when they're now talking about it, what's happening now, they're pushing from everything from hookers in Russia to now Putin and Trump are colluding to him it's gonna they're gonna keep on talking.
Well,
this
what's
jive
that new one?
Shucking.
This new one about the phone call, this guy overhearing Trump talk to the Ukraine government. And the whole story is about Trump talking to the Ukraine government and telling them to look into their corruption, which particularly had to do with Joe Biden and his son and the Ukraine deal and they're telling Trump, or the media spinning like, you can't do that. You can't be the president or in government and persuade. And they're like, the president has every right to tell a country to look and do their own corruption.
In fact, that's part of his.
Well, if he held money, if he was using, you better look into this, or we're going to withhold money. Where we know Biden did that with his son. We caught him on camera saying, I told them you're going to quit looking into this and fire this guy, or you're not going to get tax dollar. And if you look, that country fired that guy. They listened 100% to Biden. Was that against the law?
They got the aid.
What was the purpose of that? Why? What does it have to do with Trump to make Ukraine look into their, what would that benefit Trump? Whereas what Biden did, who did that benefit? His son, to keep him out of prison or whatever. So think about that. Who do you
think Trump's trying to benefit for his trade deals? How about we the people, not just nepotism, not just Trump Jr. Think about it. Nepotism between Biden and his son is sickening when you have the same thing happening with the president. This is, Mike and I have told you this many times before. Our president only has a couple main jobs. Anything else is your own personal grand delusions. He's for foreign trade and protecting our borders. That's now. Don't get me wrong; those are two huge, gigantic things that the president primarily is working on. So his job,
and we're keeping an eye
talk to people
on the weapons thing. There's a real slow play thing going on here now. Where's all this, red flag? What was he supposed to do? He's supposed to address the nation possibly, or actually make some kind of sign something, I guess. Who knows? People were talking about executive orders. I haven't seen anything. So, we can't deny he did do the thing on the bump stocks. I think those are banned. That is a true thing that actually happened. But that's about all I've really seen that I can say I've kind of disagreed with. I don't like any tamperings of anything with comes to my tools, and
infringement is infringement, and we'll call it out. I still believe we should have fully automatic machine guns that were banned in 1939, people. So, but hey, I can't have an actual machine gun that they had, But you can still buy them if you just have lots of money and lots of, if you're legally able, because we all know that it's so easy to buy a gun. Not the legal way, it's not. You got to be the right person. You got to be, you got to be up on up. You can't be no criminal. So, yeah, Mike and I always talk about infringement of our rights, and there's different ways it's been infringed upon. And speak up and exercise. If you don't flex it, the infringement turns into you don't ever use it. Why do you need it?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you see that, and there's a theory Grillin said that was a good one.
The optics, the bump stock made the left ease off a bit. Because it's funny, it's the bump stock. That is an interesting point, Grillin, because I can make a bump stop out of my belt And basically, I can do a pretty badass bump stop of my belt if I take off my rear and one of my tools, and I can do
Send. Get that
3
back
round
up on
bursts.
there.
And yeah,
It's optics, the bump stock. Yeah, no, I mean, and that's one way to look at it possibly, but, you know, how long before we're saying it's just optics that we lost our First Amendment? Don't, you know, you know, there's a bigger plan happening. You know, how long can we? So yeah, we got to keep an eye out, folks, and we got to report what is actually happening. Yes, and you know, you can print off guns and all these things once they're taken away, but that's not the point of being able to make a bump stock really quickly out of MacGyver, you know, mechanisms. It's the fact that it's illegal now. You know, but if you get caught with it, that's the bigger picture. Because there's things that criminals shouldn't have, but they have them. There's guns that are actually out there that people shouldn't own, according to these things, but they have them. I think it was interesting. Scott brought it up a year ago. He was at a auction of a really, you know, somebody that died, and it was like a whole farm and the three full pole barns.
It was like an estate auction or something like that.
And they had some guns they came out with, and they were like still, you know, fully automatic, something like whoa, you know, or something. I can't remember the exact thing that happened there. But hey, you know.
You always are able in these estate sales. Yeah, they a lot of these firearms that they banned in the early 30s were basically, you know, that can be attributed to a lot of the gangster scenes, them getting the same weapons the military had and going to the armories and blah, blah, blah. We hear about all those stories. And so they banned that type of an actual quote unquote machine gun to the civilian use. But they're still out there. There's a lot of them that have been grandfathered in, but like we said, just to own one, you've got to have lots of money, because the licensing of the yearly and all the tax fees you got to pay just to own it, not even less fire it, because where do you buy ammunition? You don't get that at Wally World. Ammunition there. Oh, Trudeau with Arabian Nights. I've been a lot of Arabians, and they don't look that dark. Some do, some don't. Man, he
went all out.
Real. He's. I mean,
shoe polish.
Sorry, guys. How come they're not in dark face? What? There's like no.
Ebony and ivory.
You trying to play that piano, but it's a sinking tune like the Titanic.
Oosh, old Ralph Northam. They are.
So think about it. This guy will do whatever
That's what's his
it
name,
takes.
isn't it? Wow. Sheesh.
So let's see, we got anything worth juiciness? Blackface or brownface or KKK hoods, aka Party of Lincoln, is a racist. They're projecting.
Why is it always leftist libs who are the ones caught tweeting racist shit or anti-Semitic shit or wearing blackface or brownface? Or KKK hoods, or actually being in the KKK. So there's Robert Byrd, but you know, he denounced it. That's their way around it. They just say he denounced it, you know. Well, don't most people that are accused of, it's like, oh my God, you were murdering and doing bad things. I'm sorry, you know.
I walked away.
Yeah, sorry. They're the racist one. And then when you look, because they point and yell that Trump is, but you can't find it. It's not as obvious as their stuff is. That's the funny thing. When
if you scream your own sins loud enough, people will think it's other people's sins, not your own.
So they yell it. They are able to get people like, yeah, he's the racist one, but you got real proof of the blackface, and they're like, that was a long time ago. I've learned lessons. My white privilege got in the way.
White privilege ran away from him. That's why he put a bunch of shoe polish on his face.
Man, that is... So they're really shedding light on trying to say that Trump can't do what he did with this newest whistleblower guy, but yet the whole real conversation is that Joe Biden just got done doing that. That's, again, all we're worried about is Trump and the accusations, not the real crime that took part mirrored from him. And maybe that's what the whole mirror thing is. Everything is a mirror because it's a projection on them. So they're going to mirror.
They're trying to tell you. They're trying to project what they're
in light
doing.
of what it all coming out in a week or two. Like, oh, we know that they sold this. Well, Trump sold stuff to Russia, his hotel and stuff.
Trump
And
sold
it's
stuff too. Like, yeah. Well, what kind of stuff did he sell? Well, you know, I mean,
when he was in the
like,
private sector, he, sold stuff. Didn't he make like socks or something? I don't know.
he
ties.
made money off of the back of a foreign government. He did a little bit of real estate business, maybe some trade deals as a private citizen, because you can do that as a private citizen. Yeah, well, he's a president now. Yeah, now he's doing it as a president. That's what he's supposed to be doing. I love the tariffs. I want to tear it up. Tariff it up. We'll take it. I'll tell you what, man.
Look at that one below us. Read Cliff Boner. Or Booner.
Second Amendment wasn't written because they're afraid of deer turning on us. Yes, that's correct. Anybody tells you rifles, well, it's for sportsmen. Bullshit. It is to protect us from a tyrannical government. And so we the people can pull together. We know that what they fear the most is us, we the people. There's 350 million of us all shouting the same thing, that we love our freedoms, and there's only 100 in the Senate, a few hundred in the House. We got a small government, people. They're little tiny, and they're in the one place. We know where they're all at. So you really think that they're really bigger and badder than us? Because all the military, they got the military. No, they don't. No, they don't. Think about that. They're military people. Mike and I have been saying that for years. People like you and I that have families and love our country and are wearing those uniforms because they're proud of not only family heritage but country. I mean, that's what it's about. So, what have you
Here's
got
a couple
going on
of
here?
articles. Headliners. Did black people own slaves? Didn't we look into that one? Didn't you read
dirty
that?
laundry. We were talking about that earlier. This is an interesting one because we've talked about indentured servants, and there was so much history that went on for slavery that is just never reported, and we're Henry Louis Gates Jr. Writes, did black people own slaves? One of the most vexing questions in African American history is whether free African Americans themselves owned slaves. The short answer to this question, as you might suspect, is yes. Of course, some free black people in this country bought and sold other black people, and did so at least since 1654, continuing to do so right through the Civil War. For me, the really fascinating question about black slave owning are how many black quote-unquote masters were involved, and how many slaves did they own? Why did they own slaves? The answers to these questions are complex, and the historians have been arguing for some time over whether free blacks purchased family members as slaves in order to protect them, motivated on one hand by benevolence and philanthropy, as historian Carter G. Woodson puts it, or whether on the other hand they purchased other black people, quote unquote, as an act of exploitation, primarily to exploit their free labor for profit, just as white slave owners did. The evidence shows that, unfortunately, both things are true. The great African American historian John Hope Franklin states this clearly. The majority of Negro owners of slaves had some personal interest in their property. But he admits, quote, there were instances, however, in which free Negroes had real economic interest in the institution of slavery and held slaves in order to improve their economic status.
So that's important to point out that just said, folks, that there were ones that were like, yeah, I'll buy this group of slaves here, and it was like family to get them free secretly, take them back,
benevolent, trying to protect them. I mean, there was cases
also
of
the
that.
opposite, just as what And again, this is only, I think, at the height of slavery, like 4%, 3.6% of the population was doing this.
Well, I think it gets into that a little bit deeper on. And remember, this is starting from 1685.
But that changes the narrative of this whole, like, you know, because even today we're hearing about reparations and stuff. Now, if you're going to go back and do these history things, you need to find, like, you know, and they can't, it's like, oh, wow, you're finding, like, how did if an actual, you know, black man bought and sold and then created this issue with this whole stem of family over here. I mean, slavery's slavery, but all you hear about is a white man did it, you know, so it's like this changes that a little bit. I've never heard of this side of it until, I mean, I've heard things and tidbits, but I've never done much research.
Yeah, what about the East India Trading Company, and where did the African Council? We'll go on and we'll say here that okay, so in a fascinating essay reviewing this controversy, R. Hiliburton shows that free black people owned slaves. Quote, in each of the 13 original states and later in every state that continuanced slavery, end quote, at least since Anthony Johnson and his wife, Mary, went to court in Virginia in 1654 to obtain services of their indentured servant, a black man, John Coster, for life. Now, they use indentured servant, so this is different than a slave, people. There's two separate things. Let's go on to read. And for a time, free black people could even own the services of white indentured servants in Virginia as well. Free blacks owned slaves in Boston by 1724 and in Connecticut by 1783. By 1790, 48 black people in Maryland owned 143 slaves. One particularly notorious black Maryland farmer named Nat Butler, quote, regularly purchased and sold Negroes for the Southern trade, Hiliburton wrote, unquote.
Wow.
So that's very interesting. Now, it also goes on to say, well, how much was going on here? How many, you know, okay, so we have records that they were buying and selling not only for economic advancement, they also have records of them buying and not selling for philanthropy and protecting family. And Darren Carson, I agree with you 100%, 90% of the indentured servants were Irish.
Yeah.
And, you know, a fun fact, not a fun fact, it's a very dark, evil fact, but most slave owners, no matter what color they were, would work the Irish harder than their African slaves, because the Irish were indentured servants and they only had to work for a time and then they would go off. Yeah. Where your African slaves were, you'd have to, all their lives, you'd have to take care of them, keep them healthy, you had to feed them, house them, where they would, a lot of times there were stories of, if, you know, a job was too hard, they'd work the Irish until they were dead, throw them in there, and then the African slaves would continue the job until they got more Irish.
Don't hear the Irish crying. That's a different part of history, Ben. That's not what we're talking about here. All right, so what do the actual numbers of black slave owners and their slaves tell us?
Numbers they're saying.
In 1830, the year mostly carefully studied by Carter G. Woodson, about 13.7%. That's 319,599 of the black population was free. Of these, 3,776 free Negroes owned 12,907 slaves out of a total of 2 million. Wow, that's a pretty big number. So out of the 12,907 slaves out of a total of 2 million there roughly owned in the entire United States at the time. So the number of slaves owned by black people overall was quite small by comparison with the number owned by white people. In his essay, The Known World of the Free Black Slaveholders, Thomas J. Presley, using Woodson's statistics, calculated that 54, or about 1%, of these black slave owners in 1830 owned between 20 and 84 slaves. 172, about 4%, owned between 10 to 19 slaves, and 3,550, about 94%. Each owned between 1 and 9 slaves. Crucially, 42% owned just one slave. So that's kind of interesting numbers here. What does this else goes on to say? Because it's a pretty long article here.
Mm-hmm. And so now they don't talk about, and I don't know if they do later on this article, that there was a couple of plantations way down south that had, 500,000, slaves on one plantation. So you think everybody was in the slave business? You know what I'm saying? Everybody. That was the form of commerce at the time. You agree with it or not? I mean, I don't think
so. To wrap that up, it was just, if it was a thing to do, society kind of got engulfed in it, so it crossed all lines. Like you said, there was lots of different. Irish were slaves.
Slavery's been going on since.
Did you have Irish owning other Irish? I mean, did that?
Yes, you did. How did the Irish come to America? Was the other Irish from other people who got the ones that get them out of there, or was the potato famine? So they called. Was it the Scottish or the Welsh pushing the Irish out to get? I mean, you guys, we've dealt with other countries' crap for thousands of years, and then we have just a few hundred years ago start this little place called the United States of America, and we're already working in the foreign trade, and we're trading cotton, and when it's free labor here, but they can't produce cotton in the north, and so they're taking our stuff, and the gold's coming, and Britain still holds this, and blah blah blah. So it's tumultuous times. I mean, our society, and at least in America, we don't believe that owning another human is a right thing to do. Now in Somalia, you can go buy
one
slaves.
Underneath you.
No one alive has been a slave in the U.S. of A. Well, I would maybe read the 15th and 16th Amendment.
No. Actually, somebody else, I had another one that said that must have jumped in. It said all races, right here, all races.
They were tax slaves. I agree with
all
that.
All races have been slaves at some point.
Yep, that's true. That's very true. So why don't
no one alive?
Exactly.
Now, the Thumper, I agree with it. She's probably thinking in the sense of like this old school bought and sold, but no, we got that going on with child trafficking and stuff. People are being bought and sold. Mm-hmm. That's a form of slavery in my book. But
human trafficking, that is exactly a form of slavery.
It's been, it's a different touch to it, or a different thing put to it, so you don't necessarily think slave.
1,000 years ago, yes, a dude who owned was a lord of his land, had a few wives, maybe one main wife, had a whole slew of servants or serfs, they used to call them, and they would work the land, and they'd be able to do this kind of stuff. But I mean, you talk to people who actually lived in those times. You see videos, real old black and white videos, when they were talking about where they used to live at, and they talk about, we had our own land, we had our own houses, we'd work every day in the fields and this. It's just interesting that, delving into history is not what they tell you in the mainstream and the public education. And a lot of what Mike and I are trying to do on a longevity level is basically tear down the lies, the myths, and the confusion that the evil one is trying to deceive you with. Because yes, I agree. There's a time that everybody in our history was a slave. At some point in time, however you want to name it, was there mental slavery, physical slavery? I mean, it's that word is such an umbrella word to use. So yeah, it's always good to have a little nugget of truth. And you know what? If you don't believe it, research it. Don't believe us. Don't believe that article. Don't believe the author article.
GGWAG driving manager saves her own life, kills masked robber with armed with a baseball bat. So in this latest installment of Good Guy with a Gun, or as happening more often, Good Gal with a Gun, a woman defended her life against an assailant robbing her place of work. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez told reporters during a news conference that two female managers at the Showboat Drive-In Theater in Hockley, Texas, were wrapping up their evening after a double feature when they heard a noise downstairs. The woman went downstairs and immediately discovered a man in a closet, potentially a utility closet, and they ordered the male suspect to come out. Sheriff Gonzalez said the male did comply. It appeared he was possibly armed with a knife. The managers issued more verbal commands, and the male exited the location and took off without incident at that point. Gonzalez continued, a second male also appeared. They believe he may have been in the closet or a back bathroom. He came out, and he was partially masked, concealing his identity. He had gloves on and he was possibly armed with a bat. There may have been some type of physical altercation where he actually struck her, possibly with a bat or with his fist, Gonzalez said. At this point, she discharges her weapon. She did retrieve a weapon that she had on her person and fired, in striking the male, and the male had been confirmed deceased here at the scene. He again appears to be partially concealed. He appears to be a younger adult male, just guessing probably early 20s, Gonzalez added. They're just trying to run a business out here. Gonzalez told the group of media these two males are going to try to come and try to rob the location. It's pretty isolated out here. So they did what they needed to do to protect themselves. So again, this is a story of the good guys kind of winning one for the team here.
Yep.
And they did what they needed to do at a time they needed to do it. So I applaud them.
Yes, I mean, here's a business owner who knows, look, I'm dealing with the public. There's some crazy people out here. We're a cash business. This is just what we teach you guys to think logically, critically about what you do. Preparation favors victory. And, good for her, man. That makes me feel happy that, there's good guys, good gals taking care of business. I mean, that was a clear case of self-defense. These guys were clearly trying to rob, and that's just it's a hero story right there. That's what I want.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Everybody should carry a gun. I think everybody should carry a gun. Hate crimes are in such high demand.
High demand. Leftists have
high demand.
Oh yeah.
Have to fake their own.
Oh, fake. Check. Fake.
Well, it's like clickbait, exactly. Oh my gosh, Oh, here we go, Jesse Smalllegs right here. You're probably thinking, I'm nut right now, right? Hate crimes. What about all those? About cross burnings in the past? All the anti-Semitic crime, etc. But allow me to explain my point of view. I hope that you, my reader, are a well-adjusted, good citizen in your community. You're not going out on nightly raids with gang members, doing smash and grabs, drive-by shootings, tagging random buildings in your hood. I mean, you guys get it, right? You're good patriots. You are what we would call sane and not mentally challenged. Amen to that. Let us for a moment consider the perpetrators of what so-called hate crimes. Would you consider them well-adjusted, sane, mentally well? Definitely not.
No.
No. I have worked in the realm of psychology for over a decade now. I find these actions of people to be fascinating, especially apparent personalities. You can learn a lot about world by watching people that don't act normal in the non-normal actions of people. Always have a reason. Their odd behavior or a result of some stimuli in their past ongoing or is essentially programming coded into their brains. Most people are slaves to the action/reaction instead of codified in their brains. Survival is one of the most important primal directives in all living things. And for the most part, everyone learns how to survive by repetition of actions in their past that appear to have created a positive result. Now, this is just, Pavlov's, the bell, he gets a treat. Bell, you get a treat. Flashy lights, the news comes on.
Would you like a free red Trump hat? Oh, I'm going to click this real quick for a free red Trump hat.
Red Trump hat.
Yes. That's a virus, folks.
Uniquely have ability to see into the future and determine if their current actions that have positive results will continue being positive over the long run. I find it most fascinating when a human doesn't use this ability and continues doing things that will obviously result in a self-destruction down the line. I mean, this is just this guy's really gone, man. This is crazy. And it keeps going on about self-destructive patterns. I mean, this is total the deep state. That's why I mean these hate crimes are not even there. Consider the merit of a term that describes a lack of something to simply communication. We do need terms that refer to a lack of something, but building policy on these terms is bad management of the populace, which is, you can't say this is a hate speech or a hate crime. It's like, well, then everybody's a hater. Don't you
Yeah.
know? Haters will hate. You don't need a law.
Haters
against
gonna
that,
hate.
You know, haters gonna hate.
All right, so you get the gist of that little hate crimer.
Haters gonna hate. Perpetrators gonna perpetrate.
After 9/11, Rashid Tlaib says she feared American, not terrorists.
You gotta kind of agree with her on that, because I do think 9/11 was an inside, not an outside job. So, but I do think there was outside connections. We don't really know the
think
full
about what she's
term.
saying there.
You know, now is that truth in disguise of a very evil woman?
What's this
trying
now?
to?
What's this here? This guy.
This guy says you better tell the government to shove it. You
Enough.
can take this job and shove it. This is my fist. Enough. Look at this. Oh my gosh, little skinny Somali. Ugh. Boom. Trump team unveils plan to defeat social media bias by him going, I don't care. That's my plan. Okay.
Let's look up Second Amendment. What's going on in that arena? Good guy
Kick
with
away.
a gun. Georgia homeowner shoots, kills 3 teens wearing mask. Teens fired first.
Ooh, teams come all fired up. What does this say, Mike? Tell us all about how these.
Good guy with gun scenario again. Part 2. Georgia homeowner shoots, kills 3 teens wearing mask. Teens fired first. This comes from Dean Garrison on September 8th, 2019. You can share it with your Twit, your Flip, and your email.
Electronic mail.
So let's check this out. Yeah? All right. Yeah? Homeowner shoots, kills 3.
One had a gun.
You guys probably won't be able to hear this. Hold on
Well,
now.
because they're all shield talkers. Wait until the handler puppets come off the screen. I'm telling you lies.
Channel 2 Action News this morning.
Can you hear it?
4:30 to 7.
Got it. Yep.
Last teenager shot and killed by a homeowner in his front yard have just been identified. Police tell us they are 2 16-year-olds and a 15-year-old, all from Conyers. Channel 2's Aaron Diamond, live in Rockdale County. Aaron, investigators say these teenagers were trying to rob that homeowner when he pulled out his own gun.
Yeah, this is where the drama went down, Jovita, and investigators are still trying to sort out why those 3 teenagers, 15 and 16-year-old brothers plus another 16-year-old boy, showed up here wearing masks. The sheriffs told us one of them had a gun, ran into a man who lives here with an even bigger gun.
I was scared. My ears was ringing. That first shot had my ears ringing.
Asteria Williams told us she hit her bedroom floor when she heard gunshots just feet from her window overnight.
My room is right here. I'm right here by it.
Rockdale County Sheriff's deputies spent hours Monday collecting evidence on White Oak Court after a man who lives in this home shot and killed 3 masked teenagers he confronted on the front lawn.
He's a nice dude. He's a nice, caring dude. If they would have knocked on the door and asked him for anything, he would have gave it to them. He's a nice dude.
Earlier, while investigators worked the scene,
he didn't have to kill them.
Frustration from this group, who wouldn't give their names, but told my colleague Sophia Choi they're related to one of the teens who died.
It's not how it's supposed to go. I understand one shot to stop the people, the victims or whatever, but aggressively to shoot these little teens, that's overkill. That's too much to handle.
Neighbor Carlos Watson told us the gunfire woke him up. Then a small army of deputies flooded the cul-de-sac within minutes.
Chaos. I moved here from Chicago, so it kind of put me back into a mindset. I didn't know what was happening initially, and I just wanted to make sure everybody was okay.
And while investigators worked to understand exactly what led to the shooting for Asteria Williams.
It's sad. You shouldn't risk your life for nothing like that, because you can't get it back. Now they gone, and it's sad.
The sheriff would not give us the names of those 3 teenagers. He did tell us investigators are still trying to interview those who knew them, trying to figure out why they showed up here. The sheriff told us the homeowner has been released for now. As soon as we get any updates, we'll of course bring them to you. For now, we're live in Rockdale County. Aaron Diamond, Channel 2.
Rockdale County. There you
Well,
go,
I'll tell you
folks.
what,
I mean,
man.
sheesh. Wow.
Oh, excuse me. Little
There you go.
The echo.
Yeah. Echo? Is it echo gone?
Good to go. We're good. No, the first lady, she totally, I totally on her side. She was like, the first shot, I went deaf, totally believable. That what happens first shot, no protection. Now those group of kids, I'll tell you what, those children, that's a good lesson. They don't need to be spitting. Children don't need to be telling us what adults be doing, because I'll tell you what, those children need to know that you break into a man or woman's house, there's death behind that door. That's what it's called. It's called America. Your Fourth Amendment, your private protection of your private property, papers and effects.
All the stuff he named off doesn't work well.
They should have shot him so many times. And
scenarios. They were just a kid, a teenager. It's like, well, how would he have known that in the dark of the night with mask on? You don't have time to look at all that stuff. Didn't they have a gun that they fired?
Yes, they did. They were armed and they fired. And it was like, well, only one of them had a gun. People.
They'd been begging this, even if those kids that broke in, because they're related. They said some of them were related to one of the victims. If he would have killed, they would have broken and shot and killed the homeowner. They would have been in court vowing for him to not get a lot of time. It was just a mistake.
He's young.
And,
he was
the
a
homeowner,
mistake.
they didn't mean to. They'd be the same ones there, because it's just the mentality of its family. It's unfortunate. Yeah. The doors are locked for the people on the outside's protection a lot of times with these people that, are protecting their home. The door is locked for your protection on the outside, so don't try breaking in, because you will get shot.
The old adage? Yeah. My door is locked not because I fear the people outside the door. It's because I love the people on the inside of the door. That's why it's locked.
Yes.
You don't get that. I mean, and here's the thing. We all know that, there has to be some vestige of civility. We like to say they're not children, they're thugs. And I'm like, hey, adults can be thugs too. A thug is that culture, that mentality. But you can see all these children have not grown up the right way. Do I blame their parents? Absolutely. Your child shouldn't have a big old huge tattoo and as young as he is in his chest. I'm like, yeah, man, that's not right. It's not right. You need to take care of your children. There needs to be some type of positive. Does any one of them know about the Constitution and about the rights that each person holds and about how you can vote? And you don't like something, change it, go vote for it. It's like, man, it's a tragedy. There was a loss of life, and that's always a tragedy when a young life gets cut so short. But then we can't say that wasn't that person's fault. You're talking, that's an armed breaking and entering.
Yeah.
We're talking.
They were just playing
crimes.
around.
A trigger doesn't care about who pulls it and doesn't care about where the projectile goes. We all know that. So we're fighting. Our soldiers are fighting children in other countries that are highly skilled at projectile throwing at high velocities, and we have no problem because that's war. But when your front door gets kicked in, they got weapons, and God only knows if they're illegal. Most likely they are. So how many crimes have to be committed before there's some like, okay, well, you got what you deserve. When you get spanked for doing something wrong and your parents discipline you, this is the ultimate discipline. And then unfortunately, another story of an individual protecting their home, doing the right thing. How can you? That lady, even the first interviewer, was like, man, he was a cool dude. You came to his house, you wanted something, some cup of sugar or whatever, he would give it to you. That's what patriots do. But you come over and try to poke a bear with a stick, you're probably going to get bit.
And right there, the optics of it, there's the whole, like you said, when you're debating with people about the border, and a lot of times you see this bias come into play because you're like, this guy's related to an illegal immigrant that's got a grandma that came, and it's like, oh, I see.
Okay.
And the media got a vigil, basically a group of people coming, well, man, they got killed. What? Yeah, what were they doing? They're breaking into someone's house, and the guy had to come out and kill him. It's an unfortunate thing, but that scenario is what will happen, and people need to be aware. And then therefore the upbringing of kids all across the country, just like in these countries where, they cut your hand off for the very first time you get caught stealing. People are like, wow, that's very not nice. And, they should
have a lot of Americans running around with no hands on because we've all probably taken something in our life. So think about that.
And yeah, exactly. But would we, if we were born into that culture where we were little babies and Uncle Joe came to pick you up, but couldn't quite, he always had the one nub. And it's like, okay,
whatever.
And you're like, okay, why does Uncle Joe only have one hand? Well, he got caught stealing back in the 70s. And we're like,
he took a half loaf of moldy bread.
I don't want my hand to get cut off. I'm not saying but that's how it works, folks. All right, you have harsh penalties. That's an idea
of respecting the law. If that, respecting what we have here, and that we don't have enough people on a massive level actually respecting what laws we have on the books. We say this all the time. I think this morning's show is really turning into a Mike and I telling you about the different styles of optics. I mean, everything from the slavery to what this just happened, right? What's happening there and how they're trying to show optics. And so, it's easy to
the grieving families, the bottom line is somebody died. So, and they don't know the circumstances because those people that are alive weren't there. So they don't know what was going on through their nephew or cousin's head. Did he smoke some crack rock? I don't know if these were small teenagers or what the extent of this was. I do not know that we saw what we saw. Mm-hmm. But folks, that's you're always going to get raw emotion out of a grieving family member, and they're going to not sound. That they probably shouldn't have. That looked like another small kid as well that has his opinion. So they get this homeowner. I think the lady that said, I woke up to a loud piercing shot, and she gave it like it was. I know that guy. He's my neighbor. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's a good dude. He's a good dude because she kept saying that. So
yeah, it's like, and so yeah.
I'd like to take a 5-minute break, come back, wrap this up. We'll look at some comments, and eventually, folks, here soon we'll start doing the morning call-in. We've been talking about it, so here probably on the next one next week we'll kick off on Monday. If you guys want to stick around for about 5 to 6, 8 minutes or so, we'll take a small. I'm going to get another cup of get some water or something, and
brown bean juice,
maybe some coffee. You guys stick around. We'll be right back, and we'll pick back up. We'll go to some comments and questions if you have any, and wrap this up.
Yeah,
go another little bit.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt. And when I say corrupt, I'm talking about totally corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. There is nothing the political establishment will not do, no lie that they won't tell, to hold their prestige and power at your expense. And that's what's been happening. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. As an example, just one single trade deal they'd like to pass involves trillions of dollars controlled by many countries, corporations, and lobbyists. For those who control the levers of power in Washington, and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat, like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. Our just announced job numbers are anemic. Our gross domestic product, or GDP, is barely above 1% and going down. Workers in the United States are making less than they were almost 20 years ago, and yet they are working harder. But so am I working harder. That I can tell you. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. Just look at what this corrupt establishment has done to our cities like Detroit, Flint, Michigan, and rural towns in Pennsylvania, Ohio, North Carolina, and all across our country. Take a look at what's going on. They've stripped away these towns bare and raided the wealth for themselves and taken our jobs away out of our country, never to return unless I'm elected president. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. So true. Honestly, she should be locked up. Should be locked up. And likewise, the emails show that the Clinton machine is so closely and irrevocably tied to the media organizations that she listen to this, is given the questions and answers in advance of her debate performance with Bernie Sanders. Hillary Clinton is also given approval and veto power over quotes written about her in the New York Times. They definitely do not do that to me. And the emails show the reporters collaborate and conspire directly with the Clinton campaign on helping her win the election all over. With their control over our government at stake, with trillions of dollars on the line, the Clinton machine is determined to achieve the destruction of our campaign. Not going to happen. Which has now become a great, great movement, the likes of which our country has never seen before, never ever. They've never seen a movement like this in our country before. Yesterday in Florida, massive crowds, people lined up outside.
All right. We are back. We are back here. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up here. Hope everyone's enjoying their Friday. I got to definitely get a video out or two over here on the Patriot Hour. Let's see here. Got Ben back in. Any questions or anything going on your guys' minds or anything that you're looking forward to? Don't know when the D class is coming. Should be soon.
Hopefully soon. Yeah, no. I mean, this should be another something we could celebrate at the Patriot Fest and the flag retirement ceremony, for sure. Yes, Patty Blythe as well.
What'd she say?
Have a great day. Oh, yeah. Have a blessed day,
yes.
Mike and Ben. For you, sure. Patty Blythe. Obviously, you guys are awesome. Thumper Rose, Eden Gomels, Sister Mary 9, JR Arizona Patriot, Fawn Lee Green, Simone Ellis, J.L. Powell, all the mods. You guys are awesome. The Benghazi murders from J.L. Powell. We're hoping that comes out too. I mean, this is a lot of that. I think was in the midst of the Uranium One deal. I think.
Yes.
So
Seth Rich was right now.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yep.
Well, justice for that. Ooh, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Joanne Quigley, save our children. Yes.
Brian Withrow, this is a good one. Mike and Ben, what is your thoughts on Colt deciding to stop AR-15 production? What's your thoughts on that one, Mr. Michael?
Yeah, no, I've been talking about that actually with people in my personal lives. It's like, I don't really support that. They're going to focus just on the military and police, and then they're going to actually really work on their handguns. I read an article. They didn't make it sound so much like this or that. They tried to keep but yeah, it's a little disheartening. I mean, I've always thought their weapons were.
The void will not be a huge one. There are other far superior, in my opinion, manufacturers of the Armalite rifle Model 15 platform. There are so many aftermarket and other manufacturers that, Colt's not getting out of the firearm business. They just have a bigger chunk of the military. I mean,
and what's out there is out there.
Yeah, they're
not, confiscating their old ones that they've already made millions and millions of.
Yeah, no, I don't really, have any fear. I just think, hey, just like GM's playing and getting out of the car, doing that. I mean, the bottom line is Colt. I mean, I could see if Colt dominated a huge percentage of the civilian Armalite rifle Model 15 idea, but the bottom line is that patent went away a long time ago, and there's been so many companies, so many manufacturers. You can get uppers, lowers. You can build this thing. Remember, just one company's pulling out of that platform. That's all it is.
Yeah. Now, really if we see a trend where we got number 2, number 3, number 4, now they all quit ceasing to make the AR, that's a different story.
That's going to be
that
if
would
they
make a
ban
statement,
that platform.
or if they quit making the bullets or ammunition for these weapons would be another huge thing to keep a.
Now, I like my green tips and I like my tracers. Those are always nice, and it's like that's something that I don't like them messing with. Again, Mike and I, this is not an infringement issue. We were like, well, could this be an infringement of Second Amendment? No, it's not an infringement issue. This is a private company who is choosing to go where the money's at. That's logical. That's even in most business owner and shareholders' mind an ethical thing to do. You're not making money on the civilian side. Why? Well, there's other companies doing it better than we can, cheaper than we can, putting in a higher quality piece of than we can do it. You know what? Let's just stick to the military, focus on that. We're really good in the pistols. So, I mean, they're not going away. I mean, you know, the 1911 is a great firearm. Oh, my gosh, it's a great firearm, you know, but it's so we don't think about that. No, hey, they can do their own. More will spring up, you know, that maybe you should start an AR-15 platform type business if you fear that Colt's going to be taken from the civilian sector. You can print them out in 3Ds and get your
Build
license.
your own.
Build your own.
All right, folks.
Beta
We're gonna,
O'Dork is done. The Kraken. I like that.
we got a few things to do in real world. We'll probably end it right here on this great Second Amendment talks. Yeah, people are saying quit making excuses for them. You know, got some good comments going on here. I don't have an AR. I like my Mini 14 grilling. Hey,
man,
you know,
I like my 7.62 by 39 as well. My 5.53 with the green tip with the nice metal rod in the middle of the projectile is wonderful as well. The great thing is like all you people enjoy your food and the varieties, we enjoy the variety of our tools. They have many functions, and you can never have enough tools to tackle the proper job.
That's right. I would agree with Grandpa C there. Taking the, you know, it's kind of a hard phrase to say, taking that gun is just a start. But one company not making it could be. We're going to keep an eye on this. We're going to keep reporting on this as we see and we hear more and more. We'll see. If you take them for their face value, what they said, it's to focus on other things. But yet they're still going to make them for one group. So it's kind of, you know, when we talk about gun bans or buybacks or, you know, people talking about we need to ban them. It's like there's never truly a ban if another group of people still have them. That's
or can make them, manufacture and sell them.
I'm a firm believer in that. It's lots of word and wizardry going on around it all, just like with everything else. So again, I'm Mike. This was Ben. This is a Patriot Hour Morning Flow Friday Live and Jive. Talk.
Live and Jive.
News, talk, and flow. We appreciate you guys all being here. We really, really do. And we love all the Patriots. And anyone new here, make sure you're subscribed. And we'll see you back here later. Monday would be the next morning show. So we'll see you guys then.
Kick it off. Have a wonderful weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Love you guys and God bless. We salute all you Patriots, Americans, and wonderful people, man. God bless you guys.
Have a great weekend. Friday morning into your afternoon, into your evening.
And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive.
Fight for what's right. Fight for your